Okay, welcome to my demo showing my proof of concept of my Kubernetes native take on Apache Kafka Connect, which I call Kunnect. What you can see here, I have already my Kafka cluster deployed here using Strimzy, and I already deployed the Kunnect controller, which is kind of the operator managing the connectors. And let's kind of go through an example based mainly on the Debezium connectors. So first thing we need to do is we need to create a Postgres database, which we will use. So that's just YAML deploying Postgres in a single pod. Then next thing which we will need to do is we will need to deploy some Kafka users using Strimzy, which the connectors will be used. And what's interesting here is that I'm actually going to create 3 users. This is kind of the default Kunnect user, which is mainly used for working with the offsets. This is the user used by the underlying Kafka Connect layer to kind of manage the offsets. Then I have second user, which is specific for the Debezium connector, and that has access to kind of write the data, the changes from the Postgres database into the Kafka topics prefixed by the inventory name. And last but not least, I have another user called Echo, which I will use for my Echo connector to kind of just log the data Debezium will send to Kafka so that actually gets the rights to read from these inventory topics. So let's create these users. And that's kind of the preparation. Then the next thing we have to do is deploy the Kunnect cluster. That's actually more or less virtual thing. It doesn't deploy any pods, but we specify where should the Kunnect framework connect to, where the Kafka broker is, what should be the name of the topic used for the offsets. We can configure things such as TLS encryption. We can configure authentication. We can configure the converters, replication factors, and so on here, as we would with any other Kunnect deployment. And when I create it, nothing actually happens here above because, yeah, as I said, it's really just a virtual configuration resource. It doesn't deploy anything. What will deploy something is when I actually deploy the connector. So this is the Kunnect connector resource, which deploys the Debezium connector. I specify the class which should be used because this connector is using its own user for authentication. I have here once again the authentication section, but this time using the Debezium user. So here you can see how it nicely isolates the users of the different connectors. I also configure the database and access to the database. So the password for the database user, it's read from environment variable, and that's actually mapped from a secret created by the Postgres database. So again, that's something where the security here is isolated, and the Postgres password, it's not available to any other connectors. It belongs only to this connector. I can also specify the resources which this connector should have and the tasks it creates should have. So there's no fighting of the connectors for the shared resources. There are no shared resources here. And the Debezium plugin is actually taken from an image volume. So it's using Kubernetes image volumes to kind of mount the plugin into the Kafka Connect deployment. And when I create this file, then what you can see first is that it actually starts the Debezium connector itself. This proof of concept doesn't yet have the readiness probes fully implemented, so it shows that it's ready, but it actually needs some take to start. And when it starts, it will create the tasks. So because it's Debezium, I think Debezium prefers to run with one task only, so we can see only the task with the ID 0. But this will be the pod where the connector part of the connector is running, and this is the pod where the actual task will be running. and that should connect to the database and start running. But in order to see what it's running, we need to somehow read the data. So that's where the echo connector comes in. Again, it's using the Kunnect connector resource. It's actually my own kind of test connector. This time, just for the sake of fun, I'm using 3 tasks, but they will be actually doing nothing there. Uh, Again, I use a separate user for this connector, so it has only the rights it needs. It doesn't have the database secret because it doesn't need to have access to the database, so that's completely isolated. It's again using the image volumes to load the connector plugin. It has its own resources and so on. So now I can do kubectl apply on that. And again, it follows the same principle, but you can see that the Debezium connector and the Echo connector are running in different pods, completely separate and isolated from each other. That's one of the main advantages of Kunnect over running, for example, Connect with Strimzy, where it uses the shared pods because you have the isolation. You can use the Kubernetes primitives to kind of schedule these pods across your Kubernetes cluster. But it's also when you have some data engineers, for example, deploying different connectors, they don't need to fight with each other to add some plugins to the shared pods and so on. They each kind of run in their own space and don't interfere with each other. So the Echo connector now again, we configured it with 3 tasks. So it created 3 different pods for the tasks. And when I go to the next step and run the logging tool, we can see that inside it, it's running the regular Kafka Connect. And what we can try to do now is kind of follow the Debezium example and do some update to the customers. So I can change the name from Anne to Anne Marie for one of the customers in the Postgres database. So when we update it, we should see here now from the Echo connector, we can see that there is a message which it received, which was produced by the Debezium connector, where kind of the before was that the first name was Anne Kretschmar, and the new name is Anne Marie. So yeah, we can see that it works, and just for the sake of fun, we can do one more change and change it to I don't know, Anna from Anne, and again we get the message with the change produced by Debezium. So that's how Kunnect works. Right now it's really just a proof of concept, so to say, designed in Czech Republic and manufactured by the GPUs and TPUs, God knows where around the world. But yeah, it might provide some advantages if you want to run Kunnect in a secure way without disruptions by the different users. But at the same time, because each of these connectors and tasks has its own pod with its own JVM, it's overall probably a lot less efficient when it comes to the resource consumptions and so on. So that's it for my Kunnect prototype or proof of concept.